Alright guys, so looking at the law of cosines, if we end up having the given information be all three sides or two sides with the angle included, so side angle side, we're going to use the law of cosines. One thing with law of cosines, if I have all three sides, I'm going to start with the largest angle. I'm going to start by finding the largest angle. And how do I know how to do that? If you look at your identity sheet, I don't know where I put mine at the moment. There it is. Your identity sheet, down at the very bottom, you have your law of sines and your law of cosines. The law of cosines, if you take this off, is Pythagorean theorem, but this is the whole Pythagorean theorem. Notice that it's written in this particular way. I have C on the outside, and C is also the angle that I'm using. All the other letters that are on the inside are A's and B's. Okay? If I'm trying to find angle A, I'm going to write it down here. If I'm trying to find angle A, then A will go inside of cosine, and side A would be on the outside. B and C would be the letters on the inside, and it does not matter the order that you write them in. So another form that you can see the law of cosines written would be A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC, so all those things on the inside need to be the same letter, cosine of A. And then alternatively, if I'm looking for angle B, then I would have B squared equals A and C on the inside, so A squared plus C squared minus 2AC cosine of B. Alright, so let's jump in and actually look at an example of this. Now, spoiler, because I already told you it's law of cosines, but just like with law of sines, I'm not going to tell you if you have to use law of cosines or sines. You have to check the information you're given first. This one I don't really need to draw a picture, but I will just to be consistent with it. But I have side A, side B, and side C. So this is obviously side, side, side. And according to our sheet, side, side, side requires law of cosine, and I want to start by finding the largest angle first. How am I going to know what the largest angle is? I'm going to look at the largest side. So in this case, my longest side is C, so I'm going to start by using C squared equals A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cosine of angle C. Now I'm trying to find the angle, so I'm going to end up having to use the inverse trig function, the inverse of cosine. Let's go ahead and plug all my values in. So I'm going to have 10.8 squared equals 8.2 squared plus 3.7 squared minus 2 times 8.2 times 3.7 times cosine of C. Right, now notice that I just plugged all my values in. This is C, this is A, this is B, A, B, and I'm looking for angle C. So just a little bit of manipulation. And also, if all that confuses you, again, if you look over here on your formula sheet, it tells you what, if you're looking for angle C, what it should look like. You might want a nice little task. If I was looking for angle B, what would all this look like? What would the lettering be? If I was looking for angle A, what would all this be? What would the lettering look like? Might be a good thing for you to write out. Good note card material, all right? But, so you can use either one. I don't care. I am looking for the angle though, so I'm going to subtract these values from both sides. So subtracting both these values and dividing by this, and then taking cosine inverse. I'm going to get C equals cosine inverse of 10.8 squared minus 8.2 squared minus 3.7 squared. All of that divided by negative 2 times 8.2 times 3.7. And if you look at the formula on on your formula sheet, it essentially says the same exact thing. Alright, so just plugging this in my calculator. Again, I'm going to be very careful, do it piece by piece. So 10.8 squared minus 8.2 squared minus 3.7 squared. Figure out what all that is. And then I'm going to divide it by this whole thing, so I'm going to put parentheses around it. Negative 2 times 8.2 times 3.7, close my parentheses. And now I'm going to find cosine inverse of that. And I get 126.05. So angle C is 126.05 degrees. From there, notice what I have. I have a side and an angle that correspond to each other, and I need to find one more angle. You could continue on, say I want to find angle B. You could continue to use the law of cosines, or you have the option just to use one of the ratios from law of sines once you find that first angle, or the second angle, depending on what you're looking at. So I'm going to go ahead and use law of sines. Never hurts to have a little more practice. I have the ratio for both C's, so I obviously need to use sine of C over C. And it doesn't matter what side I go for, I'm going to go with A. So I'm going to find angle A using side A. So plugging all of my values in, I'm going to get sine of 126.05 divided by 10.8 equals sine of A over 8.2. Cross multiply, divide. I'm looking for the angle, so I do need to use the inverse trig function. So A equals sine inverse of 8.2 sine of 126.05 divided by 10.8. Plug all that into your calculator. Again, be very careful. Calculator's silly. It only does what you plug in. And you should come out that A, where am I going to write it? I'll write it over here. A is approximately 37.9 degrees. Now that I have angle A and I have angle C, angle B is just going to be 180 minus 126.05 minus 37.9. So B is approximately 16.05. Okay, and there are the law of sines. So one for you to practice on. It's a little bit different because this time you are given an angle. Draw it out, figure out what information you have, what you're going to use to solve it. Okay, we'll talk more about this on Friday. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.